Vinny is working outside while you hold his hand every time I come out here. We shared everything. We began yesterday. For once, get your hands dirty. Instead of watching other people iron and grind, do it yourself. Every bite that needs to be built is. Everyone is working all the time. What do you know? 10 years. We have had to deal with things like this for 10 years. There was a terrible family fight that cost Paul Teutul Jr. everything he had worked so hard to build up Orange County choppers into a TV empire. His father told him he owed him $1.05 million. His brother had to pick a side. But there was a time when you and your dad stopped being close. I mean, he fired you. Yes, he did. It was really hard at the time, but now I see it was the best thing that could have happened. And when Paul had his own kids, he saw how much their famous fight had really cost. But now that I have a son, I'm much more willing to accept and understand my own father. Today, the man who made some of the most famous bikes in America tells the painful truth about why he hasn't eaten Thanksgiving dinner with his father in 15 years. Around the middle of the 1980s, most kids were either riding bikes, watching shows, or playing Nintendo. Paul Teutul Jr., on the other hand, thought fun was very different. He worked at Orange County Ironworks when he was only 12 years old, where it was hot and noisy. Other kids were at the beach, but Paul was cleaning up metal shavings from the workshop floors and giving grown men tools to help them weld steel. He would go to his dad's job site and play with scrap metal like it was a toy. Long before that, he would arrange them into small statues, making art out of things other people would have thought were junk. What they saw early on changed everything. When Paul was 14, he could already weld with such calm accuracy that even the more experienced guys looked up to him. He learned more than just how to do things. He also learned how to think like a maker. Things weren't always bright and shiny in the shop, though. Paul Sr., his dad, was known for being very strict. He was tough on his son. He was often tougher on him than on anyone else. Junior made too many mistakes to get away with them. He would be yelled at in front of everyone if something went wrong. A few people thought it was unfair, but Senior thought it would make him stronger. They became more and more at odds with each other over the years. I also believe the show caused a great deal of harm to the family. Paul Sr. liked rough strength and doing things the old-fashioned way. Paul Jr. was more interested in art and liked things with clean lines and fine details. Junior changed the way a fence looked and was built one summer to make it stronger and better. His dad didn't like it at first, but a few days later, he agreed and used the design without saying a word. That moment said everything. There was respect there deep down. But there was a tug of war all the time. Most of his peers were studying hard for math tests, but Paul Jr. chose to do something else. He signed up for a program that let him learn metalwork during the school day. He learned how to read blueprints, how to weld, and how to find the stress places in steel. One of his teachers told him he had a special talent because he could tell before he touched metal how it wanted to move. Junior practiced every weld and cut for hours after class until it felt natural. He knew he could do well even without a fancy degree. He only had to get better at what he did. He wasn't the kid cleaning floors when he went back to his dad's shop after high school. He was a skilled tailor who talked like a pro and showed what he said with results. Paul Jr. was in charge of the railing section at Orange County Ironworks by the age of 19. That's a big job. It brought in almost half of the company's money. Most people would think it was because of family ties, but Junior really earned it. He gave them more style choices and brought the shop up to date. People were ready to pay more and wait longer just to get something he made because his designs were so famous. He was also in charge of a group of workers who were a lot older than him. Some of them had been in war, and some were skeptical at first. Over time, though, even the meanest ones came around and said he knew what he was doing. So, what do you think? Have you thought about using an Indian? He turned a metal shop into a place that people talked about. You have to work hard to earn that kind of respect, but there was still something missing. Junior felt trapped after years of making stairs and railings. It was important to him to make something that moved and had life. He lit that spark when, after a long day at work, he started drawing motorbikes in an old notebook without anyone knowing. Around that time, his dad also started riding bikes again. It began jokingly. He asked Junior to help him make one. He was shocked, though, when he saw what his son had drawn. It was more than just technical. Senior looked at his son that day and said, "Let's build bikes for real, not for fun, but as a business." It was about more than just bikes. The goal was to fix something much bigger. The many years that had passed between them, they turned their family's ironworks business into a small business and used the money to start Orange County Choppers. But it wasn't fair. Senior got 80% back. Junior got 20%. It wasn't important yet. They only had a dream and a bunch of tools in a cold basement. But after a few months, people started to notice the bikes they made. It took them 4 long months to make their first one, True Blue. Welding all night, late nights, and blue paint with white flames. A big-time builder's garage didn't look like the place where it came from. People were shocked when they brought it to Daytona in 1999. They were no longer unknown, but it wasn't easy for them to be successful. In 2000, they were making bikes in a small, cold shop. Many of the sellers wanted cash up front, and we ran out of money very quickly. To stay on schedule, Paul Jr. often worked 18-hour days and slept on a couch in the shop. They yelled at each other all the time, not for fun, but to stay alive. They barely broke even on each bike they sold. They didn't have to keep going, but they couldn't stop. Then there was a call in 2002. A magazine story about their bikes caught the attention of a TV director named Craig Pelijan. He looked around for a new TV show. Paul Sr. answered the phone when he called and barked, "What the hell do you want? What the hell do you want?" A director pitched a show about fixing up bikes that people find in junkyards. "Sir, turn it off right away," he said. "We build them from scratch." The deal almost didn't happen. But after a few weeks, the producer had a better idea. Show the real process on film with all the arguments. Paul Jr. didn't like the idea. He was afraid that the cameras would make everything worse. In a 5-page letter to his dad, he said, "They'll make us look like fools." It was rude to sign the deal. $5,000 an episode, a lot of camera retakes, and lights that were so bright they made their welds fail. At one point, the show's makers thought of the name Family Friction. The money was important, so Paul Jr. almost walked. They signed then. No one knew what would happen after the March 31, 2003, launch of American Chopper. It blew up in just 3 shows. Every week, more than 3 million people watched. They were no longer just bike builders all of a sudden. They were great. People from all over came to see their little shop. Items flew off the shelves. That first season alone brought in $13 million for Discovery Channel. To keep up, the two Tulls had to move into a huge $12 million building. At first, people were interested in Paul Sr. because of his bad mood, but Paul Jr. was the one who kept an eye on them. Fans did not care about the trouble. They loved seeing him get stronger. Junior's ideas were like magic. They were quiet, focused, and exact. In fact, a scene of him building a gas tank with no words or music was one of the most watched videos ever. More people signed up for welding schools across America. The Poly effect was the name for it. Then the Black Widow came along and changed everything. It wasn't just a bike. It was a sentence. A spiderweb gas tank, handmade wheels, and 167 hours of hard work. It was shown for the first time in New York, where 15,000 people crowded in to see it. Police had to keep the crowd in check. They soon sold everything from model kits to clothes to video games. In 6 months, more than 280,000 model kits were bought. It turned OSA brand, not just a store. The Fire Bike wasn't just another chopper when Paul Jr. finished building it in June 2003. It was a big moment in his career. He was making more than just a bike. An honor to the firefighters who died on September 11, 2001. He was making it. And that meant that each part of the bike had to have a message. A real piece of steel was one of the most powerful elements. From where the World Trade Center used to be, that wasn't given to someone else by Paul. He put it on himself with weld. He made the diamond plate bracket just for this bike and connected the sharp piece of metal to it. That was the last and most moving piece. But that wasn't the only trick. He had to completely rethink the bike's frame because the plan was so big. It had to hold 30,043 hand-painted symbols, one for each fireman who died. It took a lot of tech to handle that much weight, both literally and figuratively. The next year, when the bike crashed, the New York Fire Department didn't handle it like any other crash. They came right away and carefully picked up the broken bike as if it were a fallen friend. That's how important it was. It's still in the OC Museum. It's been to more than 248 events. People still go there, cry, and leave memories and personal notes next to it. Years later, Paul Jr. would work on another project, a second tribute bike, that would bring back the pain and power of 9/11. When this one was shown off on January 20th, 2011, it got a huge response. People from all walks of life came. It drew together people like Michael Bloomberg, the mayor of New York, and the head of the 9/11 Memorial. A board member of the memorial, named Daniel R. Tishman, asked Paul to build something that people would remember. Also, he brought not one, but two bikes. One stayed as a gift. The other one was given away as a giveaway to help the memorial's fund. For those who bought passes in person or online, the whole amount of money went to help the 9/11 Museum. People cried that day when the bike's cover came off. Men of all ages, couples, and tourists. The emotional weight of what that machine stood for hit everyone. The picture told a story without saying anything. The word got out to people who couldn't be there because the Huffington Post wrote a whole story about it. The flashy paint and chrome were nice, but what was really amazing was his technical mind. Paul Jr. did more than just make bikes look good. In 2012, he quietly brought a new method to the world of motorcycles that changed everything. He started to use T-spline modeling, a tool that made it easy to make shapes that are smooth and curved. It only took 15 hours to do what used to take over 40 hours. And that method was very important when framed stronger but lighter. It changed the way they built customs in a big way. He didn't end there. He learned how to write G-code on his own. G-code is a computer language for CNC machines. Before, he was just the person who planned the bike. He could now also run the tools. He went from being an artist to a machinist and worked on both the artistic and technical parts of the build. Things didn't get bad between Paul Teutul Sr. and his son all of a sudden. It began in secret in 2007, when Sr. gave Jr. a 20% share of their business but kept all the power for himself. It looked like a fair setup at first. The business is run by father. Son brings the style. The balance started to tip, though, as Junior's ideas got more attention and fame. No longer were people admiring Senior's old-fashioned work. They were talking about the crazy thoughts Junior had, and the man who built Orange County helicopters from scratch didn't like that. There was jealousy going on behind the scenes. The Senior's grip got tighter. It set off a spark every time Junior was late or did his work in his own way. It got tougher to put out as it burned longer. The shop was a war zone by 2008. There were often fights between the father and son. They happened every day. It was mostly about being in charge. Junior wanted to be able to make things. Senior wanted people to obey. It was a battle of worlds. Spirit of creativity versus strict control. They got some of it on American Chopper, but not the worst of it. Senior became more angry when the lights went out. Not just with Kid. Jason, a creator, once broke something he had made. When Senior went on one of his rants, everyone in the store was careful. Mikey, the younger brother who is funny and keeps the peace, couldn't escape the emotional damage. He looked broken, like being yelled at for years had finally worn him down. Then there was the blow-up. September 2008. Senior lost it when Junior was late again. That which should have been a warning turned into a fight. In front of everyone on the crew. I want to be with my dad, but getting out of that unhealthy relationship helped me grow mentally, emotionally, and in every other way. I finally got away from my dad and became my own person. To defend himself, Junior said that he always got the job done, but Senior wouldn't listen. Junior answered. He said that Oak would not work without him. That was it. When Junior got so angry that he couldn't think straight, he threw a chair and then a trash can across the office. He slammed a door and stormed out. Junior went after him and fired him. Fired him right then. That time they threw chairs. They broke more than just furniture. It broke up what little work relationship they had left. After many years, it would become a joke. At the time, though, it was a mess. After the shots were fired, there was chaos. The group was split up. Some people backed Junior. Some people backed Junior. Others were afraid of Senior's anger, so they kept quiet. People started to worry. If the person who designed their bikes died, would the bikes still be magical? The network even went crazy. Junior got a warning from TLC because he had broken his contract by leaving the show. He came back as a worker for a short time, but it didn't last. He was done for good by April 2009. Junior went even further. He wanted Junior to have no part in the business at all, so he moved to buy his 20% share. Senior sued Junior when Junior wouldn't sell. The mess with the law wasn't just about money, it had to do with power. Senior wanted to be in charge again. He said he had the right to pay $500,000 to get Junior's shares back. After that, he filed a case and asked for another $1 million in damages. That's right. He put his own company on both sides of the case with the Orange County cops. It was an evil move meant to get Junior out of there for good. Junior wouldn't give up, though. A poorly written part of the contract caused the main argument. It said that Senior could buy Junior shares at fair market value, but it didn't explain how to figure out what that meant. That unclear language would be used against you in court. When the case went to the New York Supreme Court in 2010, the judges ruled in favor of Senior. The judge agreed that the buyout clause was legal and asked a third party to figure out how much the shares were worth. Junior seemed to be done. They sat next to each other in court. They're not even looking at each other. However, Junior made a case, and in December, everything changed. The appeal court changed the decision. They said it was impossible to apply the clause because it wasn't clear enough. That meant Junior kept his 20% share in AC and Senior couldn't kick him out. It was a huge gain in court, and for me personally as well. The kid that everyone thought had been killed was still alive. His dad couldn't get rid of him.